His laughter still echoes in my chest, but it wasn't meant for me. I'm sitting in this empty apartment now. 3 hours since I walked away. 3 hours since I saw him with her. The silence is suffocating. His scent still clings to everything. Cedar and rain. It's fading from the pillows where he used to fall asleep during our movie nights. Fading from the kitchen counter where he'd make coffee every morning. Fading from my skin where he touched me yesterday before everything changed. My fingers trace the couch arm. This is where it started 6 months ago. Where we weren't supposed to mean anything. Just roommates, I whispered to the empty room. Just convenience. That's what the housing office said when they matched us. Alpha and Omega compatible roommates. Nothing more. Clean credit. Quiet lifestyle. No complications. I remember walking into this place for the first time, my small suitcase clutching my hand like a lifeline. New city, new university, new life away from family, who never understood why their Omega son wanted to study literature instead of finding an Alpha to settle down with. He was unpacking boxes in the kitchen. Tall, broad shoulders under a simple white t-shirt. Dark hair falling into his eyes as he arranged plates in cabinets. The scent hit me first. Cedar and rain and something uniquely him that made my Omega purr before I could stop it. You must be my new roommate, he said without turning around. His voice was lower than I expected. Rough around the edges like he hadn't used it much that day. I'm Ryan. I managed setting my suitcase by the door. Too nervous to move closer. Too aware of his scent wrapping around me like a warm coat. He turned then. Eyes so dark they looked black in the afternoon light streaming through our small window. Something flickered across his face when he saw me. Too quick to read. Gone before I could understand. Welcome home, he said, and somehow it felt like a promise. The first weeks were careful. Polite. We moved around each other like dancers who knew the steps but never touched. He'd leave coffee made in the morning before his early classes. I'd cook extra dinner and leave his portion covered on the stove. We'd pass in hallways smelling like each other but never acknowledging it. Never talking about how his scent would calm my preheat anxiety or how mine seemed to settle his restless energy after long study sessions. It was working. This careful distance. This safe arrangement. Until the night I got sick. Food poisoning from the campus cafeteria. Fever burning through me, making me shake and whimper in ways that had nothing to do with Omega biology. Just human sickness. Human weakness. I tried to be quiet, tried not to disturb him. But around midnight, my door opened softly. Ryan? His voice was different in the darkness. Gentler. Worried. I can smell your distress. I wanted to tell him I was fine. Wanted to maintain our careful boundaries. Instead, I curled tighter under my blankets and let out a small sob. The mattress dipped as he sat on the edge of my bed. His hand found my forehead, cool against my burning skin. You're burning up, he murmured. When did you last eat? Can't, I whispered. Everything comes back up. He was quiet for a moment. Then he was moving, disappearing into the kitchen. I heard water running. Cabinet doors opening and closing. The soft clink of dishes. 20 minutes later he returned with a steaming bowl. Ginger tea, he said, helping me sit up. My mom's recipe. And toast cut into small pieces. Just try a few bites. I should have been embarrassed. Should have insisted I could take care of myself. Instead, I let him feed me small spoonfuls of tea. His fingers steady and sure. Let him adjust my pillows and pull the blankets up to my chin. Better? He asked, and there was something in his voice. Something soft and protective that made my chest ache. Why? I managed to ask. Why are you taking care of you? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then barely a whisper. Because someone should. He stayed until I fell asleep. I woke up hours later to find him gone, but my water glass was full and there were more toast pieces on the nightstand. A note in his careful handwriting. Call if you need anything. That was when I forgot the rules. After that night, something shifted between us. He'd study at the kitchen table while I cooked, stealing glances when he thought I wasn't looking. We'd end up watching movies together, starting on opposite ends of the couch and somehow always ending with him asleep against my shoulder, his breathing steady and warm against my neck. He'd adjust my scarf on cold mornings without asking, cook extra portions of his favorite pasta because he noticed how I always eyed it hungrily. I started staying up later, just to hear him come home. Started choosing my classes based on when he'd be in the apartment. Started falling asleep to his scent and waking up disappointed when it had faded overnight. I forgot he was an alpha who could have anyone. Forgot he was probably just being kind because that's what good alphas do. They take care of omegas in their space. They protect what's theirs. But I wasn't his. The new omega appeared 3 weeks ago. Maya. Golden hair that caught sunlight like spun silk. Bright smile that could light up rooms. Everything I wasn't. Confident where I was quiet. Outgoing where I was reserved. She joined our literature program and suddenly Kai had someone who matched his intelligence, who could debate philosophy and poetry with the same passion he did. I watched them together yesterday after class. Her hand on his arm as she laughed at something he said. His eyes crinkling with genuine joy as he looked down at her. Real happiness. Pure and uncomplicated. Something I'd never seen him do with me. Standing there watching them, I realized the truth I'd been avoiding for months. What I thought was growing between us, what I thought was mutual attraction and affection and maybe something deeper, it was all in my head. He was kind to me because I was convenient. Safe, the quiet omega roommate who didn't complicate his life or demand attention or expect anything beyond shared rent and grocery duties. But with her he was alive in ways I'd never seen. Animated. Free. With me, he was careful. Controlled. Kind but distant. The difference was devastating. So I'm sitting here now, surrounded by his fading scent, finally understanding my place in his world. I was never supposed to mean anything. Just roommates. Just convenience. His laughter still echoes in my chest, but it wasn't meant for me. It never was. 3 weeks before everything shattered, he started doing things that confused my heart. It began small. Tuesday morning I was rushing to class. Coffee in one hand, backpack sliding off my shoulder, scarf unwinding in the October wind. I didn't even see him coming until his fingers were at my throat. Gentle and sure, rewinding the wool around my neck. It's cold today, he said, his breath warm against my ear. His scent wrapped around me, cedar and rain, making my omega purr so softly I prayed he couldn't hear it. You should be more careful. I froze. We'd lived together for 3 months by then. Careful months of polite distance, of shared spaces but separate lives. He'd never touched me like this. Never stood so close I could count his eyelashes. Could see the tiny scar above his left eyebrow. I was late. I stammered, hyper-aware of his fingers still adjusting my scarf, of how his knuckles brushed my skin. For Morrison's class? He stepped back but not far, still close enough that I had to tilt my head to meet his eyes. Walk with me. I'm heading that direction. We walked in silence, but it felt different from our usual careful quiet, charged, like the air before a storm. His hand almost brushed mine 3 times. I counted. Each almost touch sent electricity up my arm, made my pulse spike in ways that had nothing to do with the cold morning air. That afternoon, I came home to find him cooking, not just his usual simple pasta, but something elaborate. Something that smelled like heaven and had clearly taken hours. What's the occasion? I asked, dropping my bag by the door. He looked up from the stove, cheeks slightly flushed from the heat. No occasion. I noticed you haven't been eating much lately. Thought you might be stressed about midterms. He'd noticed. He'd paid attention to what I ate, how much, when I seemed worried or tired or overwhelmed. The realization made my chest tight with something between hope and panic. You didn't have to. I wanted to. The simple words hit me like a physical force. Sit. It's almost ready. The meal was perfect. Rich and comforting and made with the kind of care that spoke louder than words. We ate in comfortable silence, stealing glances across the small table, and for the first time in months, I let myself imagine this was more than kindness, more than roommate courtesy. After dinner, we settled on the couch for our usual movie. Some action thing he'd picked that I pretended to be interested in, but mostly ignored in favor of reading. But tonight felt different. Tonight he kept glancing at me instead of the screen. You don't like it, he said finally, pausing the movie mid-explosion. It's fine, I lied, closing my book. Ryan. The way he said my name made something flutter in my stomach. You don't have to pretend. What would you rather watch? I almost said nothing. Almost went back to our safe routine of him choosing entertainment while I quietly did my own thing. But something about the way he was looking at me, the genuine interest in his voice, made me brave. There's this documentary, I said hesitantly, about poets in the 1920s. It's probably boring for you. Put it on. You don't have to. I want to. Again, those simple words. I want to know what you like. So we watched my documentary, and he actually paid attention, asking questions about the writers I mentioned, about the historical context, about why I found their work compelling. We talked until nearly midnight, the conversation flowing easier than it ever had before. When I finally started to get up to go to bed, exhaustion making me clumsy, I stumbled slightly. His hand shot out to steady me, fingers wrapping around my wrist. For a moment we both froze. His thumb was pressed against my pulse point, and I knew he could feel how my heart was racing. Careful, he said softly, but he didn't let go. I'm okay, I whispered, but I didn't pull away. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. His thumb traced once, twice over the thin skin of my wrist. My omega was practically vibrating with contentment at the touch, at his attention, at the way his scent seemed to intensify around us. Then he released me and the spell broke. Good night, Ryan, he said, voice rougher than usual. Good night. But I didn't sleep. I lay awake replaying every moment, every touch, every word, wondering if I was reading too much into simple kindness, wondering if the way he'd looked at me meant what I desperately hoped it meant. The next few days brought more moments like that. Him making coffee exactly how I liked it without asking, finding reasons to brush past me in the narrow hallway, his hand ghosting across my lower back as he squeezed by, asking about my classes, my assignments, my thoughts on things that had nothing to do with him but everything to do with me. One evening he came home to find me curled on the couch, wrapped in blankets and shivering. Not from cold, from the beginning stages of heat preparation. My body getting ready for the monthly cycle I'd been dreading since I realized how I felt about him. Ryan? He was at my side instantly, concern clear in his voice. What's wrong? Nothing, I managed, though my voice was strained. Just preheat. It'll pass. Most alphas would have given me space, would have maybe checked that I had supplies and suppressants and then made themselves scarce until it was over. Most alphas didn't want to deal with omega biology unless they were romantically involved. Kai did the opposite. He sat on the edge of the couch, his hand hovering uncertainly near my forehead. Can I? He asked softly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. His palm pressed against my fevered skin, cool and steady. I couldn't stop the small sound of relief that escaped me, the way my body immediately began to relax under his touch. You're burning up, he murmured. Have you taken anything? Suppressants don't work well for me, I admitted, too dizzy to maintain my usual walls. They make me sick. Something shifted in his expression. Something almost angry, but not at me. That's not sustainable, Ryan. You can't suffer through this every month. It's fine, I whispered, though we both knew it wasn't. It's not fine. His thumb traced across my temple, sending shivers through me. Let me take care of you. Before I could argue, he was moving, disappearing into his room and returning with an armload of pillows and blankets, building a nest around me on the couch, adjusting everything until I was surrounded by softness and his scent. Better? He asked, and when I nodded, still too overwhelmed to speak, he settled beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth but not so close that it felt presumptuous. We stayed like that for hours. He read to me from one of my poetry books, his deep voice soothing in ways I hadn't expected. When I got dizzy and nauseous, he brought me water and ginger tea. When the fever spikes made me shake, he rubbed my back in slow circles until I calmed. When I finally drifted off, it was to the sound of his heartbeat and the feeling of his fingers gentle in my hair. I woke up hours later to find him still there, still watching over me. His hand was resting on my forehead, checking for fever, and when he saw my eyes open, he smiled. A real smile, soft and relieved, and something else I was afraid to name. You're important, he whispered, so quietly I almost missed it. My heart stopped, then started again, too fast, too hard. Kai. Sleep, he said, his thumb tracing over my scent glands so gently I almost cried. I'll stay until you're better, and he did. He stayed the whole night, dozing fitfully in the chair beside me, waking every time I stirred to make sure I was okay, taking care of me in ways that felt like more than kindness, more than roommate courtesy. But when morning came and my fever broke, he was back to careful distance. Polite smiles and respectful space. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't spent the night watching over me like I mattered to him. I convinced myself it meant nothing. Just roommate care. Just alpha instinct to protect omegas in distress. Not the desperate love growing in my chest like thorns, sharp and beautiful and painful. But the way he'd whispered "you're important" kept echoing in my mind, and despite my better judgment, I let myself hope. I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, I meant something to him too. Present day, my heat came early. I'm burning from the inside, clawing at sheets that smell wrong, feel wrong. Everything wrong except the part of me that's screaming for him, for his scent, for his touch, for his voice telling me everything will be okay. But it won't be okay. Nothing will ever be okay again. It started 3 hours ago when I saw them together on campus. Really together. Not just the casual touches and shared laughs I'd been trying to ignore for weeks. This was different. Intimate. Her fingers tangled in his shirt as she whispered something that made him smile, that private, devastating smile I thought was reserved for quiet moments between us. My omega reacted instantly. Violently. Heat hormones flooding my system in response to stress, to heartbreak, to the crushing realization that I'd lost something I never really had. I barely made it home before the first wave hit. Now I'm curled in my bed, wearing one of his old sweatshirts that I stole weeks ago. The scent is fading but still there, cedar and rain, and it's the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. My body is betraying me, responding to his lingering scent like he's here, like he wants to be here, like this heat means something to him beyond biological inconvenience. The suppressants I choked down an hour ago aren't helping. They never do. My temperature is spiking, making me shake and sweat and whimper into the pillow. My skin feels too tight, too sensitive. Every nerve ending is on fire, begging for touch that won't come. Won't come because he's with her now. I press my face deeper into his sweatshirt, breathing in what's left of him, and try to ride out the worst of it. Try to ignore the way my omega is calling for him, producing pheromones that are probably filling the entire apartment by now. The stress scent, heat scent, the desperate chemical signature of an omega in need. He'll smell it the second he walks through the door. The thought makes me panic, makes me bury myself deeper under blankets that smell like nothing, like no one, like the emptiness I'm drowning in. I can't let him see me like this. Can't let him know that my heat was triggered by watching him with someone else. Can't face his pity or his awkward attempts to help when we both know I mean nothing to him beyond a housing arrangement. But 15 minutes later, I hear his key in the lock. My whole body goes rigid. He's home early. Why is he home early? It's barely 6 o'clock, and he usually studies with her until the library closes. Unless, Ryan, his voice carries through the thin walls, concerned and confused. Are you okay? I can smell. He cuts himself off, but I know what he was going to say. Can smell my distress. Can smell my heat. Can probably smell the desperation and heartbreak I'm radiating like a beacon. Footsteps in the hallway. Getting closer. I squeeze my eyes shut and pray he'll just leave me alone. Let me suffer through this in private. Pretend he doesn't know what's happening. A soft knock on my door. Ryan. I know you're in there. His voice is different now. Lower. Rougher. I can smell you from here. Are you in heat? I don't answer. Can't answer. My throat feels like sandpaper, and any sound I make will just be more evidence of how pathetic I am. The door opens anyway. His scent hits me immediately, and it's overwhelming. Cedar and rain and something else, something darker and more intense than usual. It wraps around me like a drug, making my omega purr and keen at the same time. Relief and agony all at once. But there's something else mixed in. Something that makes my stomach clench with nausea. Sweet vanilla. Her scent, all over him. I want to scream. Want to throw something, want to tell him to leave. To go back to her. To stop torturing me with what I can't have. Instead, I whimper into the pillow. A broken sound that I immediately hate myself for. Oh, Ryan. He's across the room in 3 strides. the mattress dipping as he sits on the edge of my bed. Hey, look at me. I shake my head, keeping my face buried. I can't look at him. Can't see the pity in his eyes. Can't smell her on his skin. Can't pretend this is anything other than what it is. Sweetheart, please. The endearment stops my breath, makes my heart stutter with hope I can't afford. You're burning up. When did this start? His hand hovers over my shoulder. Not quite touching, waiting for permission I don't want to give because I know what will happen if he touches me. No, I'll break completely, beg for things he can't give me, embarrass us both with the depth of my need. But my body betrays me, arching slightly toward his warmth, and he takes it as invitation. His palm settles on my fevered forehead, cool and steady, and I can't stop the sob that escapes me. The relief is instant and devastating. My omega practically melts under his touch, purring so loudly it fills the room. Shh, he murmurs, thumb tracing over my temple. It's okay, I'm here, but it's not okay. He's here, but he's not mine. He smells like her, like vanilla and promises he made to someone else. Like a life I'm not part of. You should go, I manage to whisper, voice cracked and raw. She's waiting for you. Something shifts in the air. His scent darkens, becomes more complex, more dangerous. She's not, he says quietly. I left. My eyes snap open, meeting his for the first time. He looks different, tense. His pupils are dilated, and there's something in his expression I can't read. You left? I smelled your distress from 3 blocks away, he says, his hand still gentle on my forehead. Dropped everything and ran. You were Christ. Ryan, you were calling for me. Calling for him. My omega had been sending out distress pheromones specifically targeted at him, and he'd felt compelled to respond. Alpha instinct overriding everything else. It doesn't mean anything. It does. Let me help, he says, voice rough with something that might be desperation. Please. I can't. Seeing you like this is killing me. I should say no. Should tell him to go back to his girlfriend, to his real life, to everything that doesn't include me. Should protect what's left of my dignity. Instead, I nod. Because I'm weak and selfish and burning alive with need I can't control. His relief is visible, his whole body relaxing as he moves closer. His hands are gentle as he helps me sit up, arranging pillows behind my back, smoothing my sweat-damp hair away from my face. Better? He asks. And when I nod, he settles beside me, close enough that his thigh presses against mine, close enough that his scent surrounds me completely. For a few minutes, it's almost okay. His presence is soothing my omega, cooling the fever, making the edge of desperation recede to something manageable. I let myself sink into the fantasy that this means something, that he's here because he wants to be, not because biology compelled him. But then another wave hits, stronger than before, and I'm gasping, clawing at his arm, my body demanding more than just his presence. I know, he murmurs, his free hand stroking over my hair. I know it hurts. What do you need? Everything. I want to say. You. All of you. Forever. I don't know, I whisper instead, because the truth will ruin everything. His thumb traces over my scent gland, so light I almost miss it, and my world explodes into sensation. The touch sends electricity through my entire system, making me arch against him with a sound that's half pleasure, half desperation. Is this okay? He asks, voice strained. His thumb traces the sensitive spot again, and I can't suppress my reaction. Yes. I breathe, tilting my head to give him better access. Please. His touch becomes more deliberate, fingers massaging the glands at my throat with practiced ease. Like he's done this before, like he knows exactly what I need. But it's not enough. My heat is demanding more, demanding the connection that only comes from Ryan. His voice is different now, deeper, more controlled. I need you to tell me if you want me to stop. I look up at him, confused, and freeze at what I see in his eyes. Are darker than I've ever seen them. Pupils blown wide with something that looks like hunger. His scent has changed too, become more intense, more alpha, more possessive. What? Your heat triggered my rut, he says through gritted teeth. I'm trying to control it, but if you keep making those sounds, keep smelling like... He doesn't finish, but I understand. My heat pheromones are affecting him, pulling at alpha instincts he's trying to suppress. This isn't about me. This isn't about us. This is just biology. The realization should hurt. Should make me pull away, protect us both from a mistake we'll regret. Instead, I tilt my head further, exposing more of my throat. Don't stop, I whisper. His control snaps. His mouth is at my scent gland before I can blink. Breath hot against sensitive skin. The first gentle lick sends shockwaves through my system, making me cry out and arch against him. The connection is instant, overwhelming, everything I never knew I needed. My world whites out. Nothing exists except his mouth on my throat. His hands holding me steady. His scent wrapping around me like a claim. The relief is so intense I can barely breathe, can barely think beyond the rightness of it. The perfect completion of having him here, touching me, taking care of me. This is what I was born for. This moment. This connection. This love. No, not love. Reality crashes back as his teeth graze my gland. As I realize what we're doing, what this means. He's not here because he wants me. He's here because his alpha instincts kicked in. Because my heat triggered his rut. Because biology overrode his rational mind. This isn't love. This is just chemistry. And tomorrow when we're both clear-headed again, we'll both regret this. He'll go back to her, and I'll go back to being the convenient Omega roommate who complicated his life for one night. But for now, with his mouth gentle on my throat and his hands steady on my skin, I let myself pretend this means everything. Something changes in the air between us. 1 second his mouth is gentle on my scent gland, careful and controlled, giving me exactly what I need to soothe the heat burning through me. The next, his whole body goes rigid against mine. His scent explodes around us, darker and more intense than anything I've ever experienced. Cedar and rain and something wild, something dangerous, something that makes every instinct in my body scream, both run and submit at the same time. "'Kay?" I whisper, suddenly afraid. Not of him, never of him, but of what's happening to us. What we've triggered. He pulls back to look at me and my breath catches in my throat. His eyes have gone completely dark, pupils blown so wide there's barely any color left. The careful control he's maintained for months, maybe years, is cracking. I can see it happening in real time, watching him fight against instincts older and stronger than either of us. Ryan. My name comes out rough, gravelly, like it's being torn from his chest. You need to... I can't... But he can't finish the sentence because another wave of my heat pheromones hits the air, and whatever thread was holding his sanity together finally snaps. The gentleness from before? Gone. He moves so fast I don't have time to react. 1 second I'm sitting against the pillows, the next I'm pressed against the headboard. His hands braced on either side of my head, his body caging me in completely. The wooden frame creaks under the sudden pressure, and somewhere in the back of my mind I wonder if it'll hold. Mine. He growls against my throat, and the sound is barely human. Pure alpha, pure possession, pure need that has nothing to do with love or tenderness and everything to do with claiming what his rut-addled brain has decided belongs to him. This is raw alpha need and I'm just the nearest omega. The thought should terrify me, should make me fight, push him away, protect myself from becoming collateral damage in his biological crisis. Instead, it sends liquid heat straight to my core because even knowing this isn't real isn't about me. My omega is singing with satisfaction. Finally, he's touching me like he means it. Like he needs me. Like I matter. Even if it's just chemistry. His teeth scrape against my scent gland. Not the gentle pressure from before, but something sharper, more demanding. I can feel the moment he tastes me properly. Can feel the shudder that runs through his entire frame as my omega pheromones flood his system. Fuck, he breathes, and then his mouth is everywhere. My throat, my collarbone, the sensitive spot behind my ear that makes me arch and gasp and forget my own name. His hands are in my hair, on my skin, pulling me closer until there's no space between us at all. His scent becomes overwhelming, possessive, claiming in a way that makes me dizzy. It's filling the entire room now, marking everything as his territory. Marking me as his territory. I can't breathe anything else. Can't think past the way it's wrapping around me like chains, beautiful and suffocating all at once. I can't breathe. Can't think. Can only feel his mouth marking my neck, his hands everywhere, his weight pressing me into the mattress like he's trying to merge us into one person. Everything is heat and pressure and sensation so intense it borders on pain. Kai. Please. I gasp. Though I don't know what I'm begging for. More? Less? For him to stop before we cross a line we can't uncross? For him to never stop touching me? He responds by biting down on my scent gland. Not hard enough to break skin, but hard enough to send shockwaves through my nervous system. Hard enough to make me cry out and dig my nails into his shoulders. Hard enough to leave a mark that will be visible for days. The connection is electric, overwhelming. Everything I fantasized about in my darkest moments. This is what it would feel like to belong to him completely. This is what it would be like if he chose me, claimed me, made me his in every way that matters. But even as my body responds to his touch, as my omega purrs with satisfaction at being marked and claimed and possessed, my heart is breaking. Because I know this isn't real. Know that tomorrow, when his rut fades and clarity returns, he'll regret every second of this. He'll look at me with horror and disgust, at what we did, at how he lost control, at how I let him. Beautiful, he murmurs against my skin, voice rough with want. So fucking beautiful. Should have done this months ago. Should have claimed you the first night you scented me. The words send fire through my veins even as they break my heart. Because I know he doesn't mean them. No, it's just the rut talking. Biology overriding rational thought. Tomorrow he'll remember saying these things and hate himself for it. Hate me for letting him. But I can't stop. Can't pull away from his touch. From his mouth. From the way he's making me feel like the most precious thing in the world. Even knowing it's temporary, even knowing it will destroy us both, I let him mark me. Let him touch me like I belong to him. Let him whisper promises against my skin that we both know he won't keep. The intensity builds between us, heat and desperation and need spiraling higher until I think we might both combust from it. His hands are shaking as they map my skin, his breathing ragged against my throat. Everything is too much and not enough at the same time. I can't, God Ryan, I can't stop, he pants. And there's something broken in his voice. Something desperate and lost that makes my chest ache even through the haze of desire. Don't, I whisper back, threading my fingers through his hair. Don't stop. But even as I say it, I know this can't last. Know that reality will intrude eventually, that we'll have to face what we've done. What this means, how it changes everything between us. I just don't expect it to happen so soon. The peak hits us both at the same time. Sensation so intense it whites out everything else. For a perfect, devastating moment. We're completely connected, completely together. His scent surrounding me, my omega singing with satisfaction. Both of us lost in something bigger than biology, bigger than instinct. Then it's over. The silence afterward is deafening. We're both shaking, both breathing hard, both staring at each other like we can't quite believe what just happened. His scent is still heavy in the air, still wrapped around us like a claim. But something has shifted. Something has changed. The horror creeps into his eyes slowly, like sunrise in reverse. I watch it happen, watch realization dawn on his face as the rut haze clears enough for rational thought to return. He scrambles backward off the bed away from me. Away from what we did. I didn't. The words hang in the air between us like a wound. He pulls away like I burned him. Like touching me was the worst mistake of his life. Maybe it was. Maybe this will ruin everything we've built together. Destroy the careful friendship we've maintained for months. I have to go, he says, voice hollow. I can't. He's backing toward the door and I want to call out to him. Want to tell him it's okay, that I understand, that this doesn't have to change anything. But my throat feels like sandpaper and the words won't come. I'm sorry, he whispers, and then he's gone. I hear him moving through the apartment, hear the front door open and close, hear his footsteps disappearing down the hallway. The silence stretches between us like a wound, even though he's not here to share it. I know where he's going. Back to her apartment. Back to vanilla and safety and someone who doesn't complicate his life with unwanted biology and inconvenient feelings. Back to the life that doesn't include me beyond convenient housing arrangements. I curl up in the sheets that smell like both of us, like what we almost had and what we'll never have again, and try not to cry. He leaves for her apartment that night, and I know with devastating certainty that everything between us just changed forever. I pack while he's gone. The apartment feels hollow without him, like all the warmth has been sucked out through the walls. His scent is still everywhere, still clinging to my skin, still wrapped around me like a ghost of what we almost had. It makes packing harder, makes every breath a reminder of his hands on me, his mouth at my throat, his voice rough with wanton promises he didn't mean. Can't stay. Can't pretend this didn't happen. Can't sit across from him at breakfast tomorrow morning and act like everything is normal when his bite mark is still throbbing on my neck. Can't watch him avoid my eyes. Can't listen to him apologize for something that felt like the most right thing in my entire life. Can't watch him choose her again. My hands shake as I fold clothes into boxes. T-shirts that smell like his laundry detergent. Sweaters he's complimented. The hoodie I stole from him that I can't seem to let go of. Even now, everything I own seems to carry traces of him, memories of our careful domestic dance, evidence of how thoroughly I've let him become part of my life, evidence of how stupid I've been. The apartment hunting websites blur through my tears as I scroll on my phone. Studio apartments I can't afford, shared housing with strangers who won't make me coffee in the mornings, or ask about my classes or fall asleep on my shoulder during movies. Places that will never smell like cedar and rain, never feel like home the way this place did for exactly 6 months and 3 weeks. I'm sealing the last box when I hear his key in the lock. My whole body freezes. He's back. Why is he back? It's past midnight, and he usually stays over at her place when they're together. Unless something happened. Unless they fought. Unless she could smell me on him and decided she didn't want an alpha who loses control with his omega roommate. Footsteps in the hallway. Hesitant. Slow. Like he's afraid of what he'll find. Ryan? His voice is hoarse, uncertain. Are you awake? I don't answer. Can't answer. If I open my mouth I'll say something stupid like please don't leave me, or I love you, or stay, and none of those are things he wants to hear right now. The footsteps stop outside my door. I can feel him standing there, can smell him through the thin wood. But there's something different about his scent now. The vanilla is still there but faint, fading. Like he showered it off or like it never really belonged there in the first place. And underneath it something else. Something that smells like regrets. My door opens slowly and I know he can see the boxes. Can see my life packed up and ready to disappear from his. The silence stretches between us like a chasm, heavy with everything we're not saying. You're leaving. Not a question. His voice breaks on the words anyway, like saying them out loud makes it real in a way he wasn't prepared for. I keep my back to him, keep folding the same shirt for the 3rd time because my hands need something to do that isn't reaching for him. Yes, I manage, proud that my voice comes out steady. Because of what happened. Because it can't happen again. More silence. I can hear him breathing, shallow and uneven, can smell the way his scent shifts towards something desperate. I don't want you to go. The words hit me like a physical blow. I have to grip the edge of my dresser to stay upright, to keep from turning around and falling into his arms like nothing has changed. You have her now. I say, still not looking at him. Still protecting what's left of my dignity. I don't want her. The words are so quiet I almost miss them. So broken I almost don't believe them. I turn around before I can stop myself. He looks terrible. Hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled, eyes red-rimmed like he's been crying. The vanilla scent is definitely fading, being overwhelmed by his natural cedar and something sharp and painful that I realize is grief. Then why? He cuts me off suddenly close, crossing the room in 3 strides until he's right in front of me. His hands are shaking as they frame my face, thumbs tracing over my cheekbones like he's trying to memorize the shape of them. "'Cause I'm terrified of ruining you," he whispers, voice cracking. "Because you deserve better than an alpha who loses control. Because I've been in love with you since the day you made me coffee with little foam hearts and I didn't know how to tell you without destroying everything." My world tilts. All this time, all these months of thinking I was invisible, thinking I was convenient, thinking he saw me as nothing more than a housing arrangement. All this time, he's in love with me? The words feel foreign in my mouth, too good to be true, too much like everything I've wanted to hear and convinced myself I never would. Desperately, he admits, pressing his forehead against mine. Completely. Since the beginning. Since before I understood what it meant, I've been fighting it for months, trying to be the good alpha who doesn't take advantage of his omega roommate, who doesn't cross lines or assume things or act on feelings that might not be mutual. Kai. I started seeing Maya because I thought if I could just find someone else, someone uncomplicated, maybe I could stop wanting you so much. Stop dreaming about you. Stop falling asleep to your scent and waking up disappointed that you weren't in my arms. Each word is another crack in the walls I've built around my heart, another piece of armor falling away. He's been feeling this too. This pull, this connection, this desperate need that I thought was all one-sided. But it didn't work. He continues, hands still framing my face like I'm something precious. Being with her just made me miss you more. Made me realize that what I feel for you isn't something I can logic my way out of or distract myself from. It's not convenient or simple or easy, but it's real. Then why did you run? I whisper. Why did you leave? Pain flickers across his face. Because I lost control. Because I could have hurt you. Could have taken things too far. Could have made you feel like you didn't have a choice. Because the way I want you, the way my alpha reacts to you, it's overwhelming and possessive and not always gentle, and you deserve someone who can love you without losing themselves in the process. I stare at him, trying to process everything he's saying. All this time, I thought he was rejecting me. All this time, he was trying to protect me. From himself. You think you're bad for me, I say finally. Understanding flooding through me. I know I am. His voice is barely a whisper. But I can't let you leave. Can't watch you walk out of my life when I just figured out how to tell you the truth. Can't lose you because I'm too much of a coward to fight for what I want. And what do you want? His eyes search mine, desperate and hopeful and terrified all at once. You, he breathes. All of you, forever. Your coffee with foam hearts and your documentary preferences and your terrible sleeping schedule. Your scent in my sheets and your voice in my mornings and your hand and mine when we watch movies. I want to take care of you during heats and hold you during nightmares and wake up next to you every day for the rest of my life. My heart is racing so fast I think it might burst from my chest. This is everything I've wanted, everything I've dreamed of, everything I convinced myself was impossible. I want to be yours, he continues, voice getting stronger with each word. And I want you to be mine. Not because of biology or convenience or alpha-omega dynamics, but because I choose you. Because you choose me. Because what we have is worth fighting for. Tears are streaming down my face now, but I don't care. Can't care about anything except the way he's looking at me like I hung the stars. Like I'm the answer to every question he's ever asked. All this time I thought I was invisible. I whisper. Never. His thumbs wipe away my tears. Gentle and sure. You've never been invisible to me. You're the brightest thing in every room. The most important part of every day. You're home, Ryan. You're everything. The last of my walls crumble completely. I love you too, I breathe, finally saying the words I've kept locked in my chest for months. I've loved you since you brought me soup when I was sick. Since you stayed up all to make sure I was okay. Since you made me feel like I mattered. The smile that breaks across his face is blinding. You matter, he says fiercely. You matter more than anything. And then he's kissing me, soft and desperate and full of months of suppressed longing. It tastes like hope and promises and second chances, like everything I never knew I needed. When we break apart, both breathless, he presses his forehead against mine again. Stay, he whispers. Please, let me love you the way you deserve. Let me prove that I can be good for you. I look into his eyes, soft and desperate and full of months of hidden longing, and know there's only one answer I can give. Yes. I broke up with her 3 days ago, he whispers against my forehead, and the words send shockwaves through my system. 3 days ago, before my heat. Before everything fell apart and came back together again. Before I saw them together on campus and thought my world was ending. 3 days? His arms tighten around me, pulling me closer until there's no space between us at all. We're sitting on my bed now, surrounded by unpacked boxes and the lingering scent of our confessions. The bite mark on my neck throbs gently, a reminder of everything that's happened, everything that's changed between us. Couldn't even pretend, he admits, voice rough with exhaustion and relief. Every laugh felt wrong because it wasn't yours. Every touch felt empty. Every moment with her just reminded me of what I really wanted, what I was too afraid to reach for. I pull back to look at him, confusion written all over my face. But I saw you together yesterday. On campus. You looked so happy. Something flickers across his expression. Guilt? Regret? She was trying to change my mind, he says quietly, begging me to give us another chance, saying she didn't understand why I was throwing away something good. And for a moment, looking at her, I wondered if I was being stupid, if I was giving up something real for a fantasy that would never be returned. The words sting, even knowing how this story ends. Even knowing he's here now, holding me like I'm the most precious thing in his world. So you almost... No? The word is firm, absolute. I was trying to let her down gently, trying to explain without telling her about you, about how I felt, because that wouldn't have been fair to anyone. But she was touching me and laughing and trying so hard to win me back, and I felt nothing. Less than nothing. Just empty. His scent wraps around me as he speaks. Pure cedar now, no vanilla. Just him. Just us. The difference is startling. How much cleaner it smells. How much more right. Like his scent was never meant to be mixed with anyone else's. I realized in that moment that I'd rather spend the rest of my life wanting something I couldn't have than settling for something that felt like a pale imitation. He continues. I'd rather love you from a distance and never tell you than pretend I could be happy with anyone else. But you're telling me now. Because you were leaving. His voice breaks slightly on the words. Because I couldn't let you go, thinking you didn't matter, thinking what happened between us was just biology. Because I'm selfish enough to want you to know the truth, even if you can't return it. I reach up to touch his face, fingers tracing the sharp line of his jaw, the soft skin beneath his eyes that's still slightly red from crying. I thought you didn't want me. I breathe, finally letting myself say the words I've carried like stones in my chest. I thought I was just convenient. Just the Omega roommate who was safe and quiet and didn't complicate your life. Safe? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Ryan, you've been the most dangerous thing in my life since the day I met you. Dangerous because you made me want things I'd never wanted before. Made me dream about futures I'd never considered. Made me fall in love when I'd spent years convinced I wasn't built for it. Built for it? He's quiet for a long moment, thumb tracing over the marks he left on my neck. The touch sends shivers through me, makes my Omega purr with satisfaction at being claimed, being marked, being his. My father was an alpha, he says finally. Controlling, possessive, convinced that loving someone meant owning them. I grew up watching him suffocate my mother with his need to control every aspect of her life, watching her slowly disappear under the weight of his obsession. I swore I'd never be like him. Never let my alpha instincts override my humanity. Understanding floods through me. The careful distance he's maintained. The way he's always asked permission before touching me. The horror in his eyes when he lost control during his rut. You were protecting me, I whisper. I was protecting you from me, he corrects. From the way I want to keep you close. Want to know where you are every moment. Want to mark you so thoroughly that no other alpha would ever think to approach you. From the way I get jealous when you smile at other people. The way I have to physically restrain myself from scenting you in public. From the way I've been fantasizing about claiming you properly since approximately the second week we lived together. Each confession sends heat through my veins, makes my Omega sing with satisfaction. He wants me, possessively, completely, desperately, the way I've wanted him. I've wanted you since you first scented me, he confesses, voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Since you made that soft sound when my pheromones hit you, that first day, since you purred when I adjusted your scarf, since you let me take care of you when you were sick. I've been fighting the urge to claim you for months. These belong to you, he continues, thumb tracing over the bite marks he left. I belong to you, if you'll have me. If you can love an alpha who might be too possessive, too protective, too desperate to keep you safe and happy and mine. The words wash over me like a benediction, like everything I've ever wanted to hear but never dared hope for. I don't answer with words. Instead, I lean forward and press my scent gland to his neck, right where his pulse beats strongest. His breath hitches as I nuzzle against him, as I let my Omega pheromones mix with his alpha ones, creating something new and uniquely ours. Then I bite down gently. Not hard enough to break skin but firm enough to leave my mark. To claim him back. His whole body shudders beneath me. A sound somewhere between a growl and a whimper escaping his throat. His hands fist in my shirt pulling me closer, and I can smell the way his scent deepens, becomes richer, more complex. More claimed. Mine. My omega purrs against his throat, and I let the word escape on a breath. Mine, I repeat, louder this time. More certain. Finally completely mine. Always, he breathes back, voice wrecked with emotion. Always, yours, from the beginning, until the end. We stay like that for a long time, scenting each other properly for the first time. Mixing our pheromones until the air around us smells like unity, like completion, like home. His hands map my back in slow circles while I press kiss after kiss to the mark I left on his throat. When we finally pull apart, both of us are breathing hard, both overwhelmed by the intensity of finally being able to touch each other without barriers or fears, or carefully maintain distance. So what happens now? I ask, suddenly uncertain. We've confessed everything, claimed each other, admitted to months of mutual longing. But tomorrow still exists. Reality still exists. The world outside this room still exists. Now, he says, settling me more comfortably against his chest, we unpack your boxes. We make this place ours instead of just mine. We figure out how to be together without my neuroses and your insecurities getting in the way. And Maya is a good person who deserves someone who can love her completely, he says firmly. Someone who isn't already desperately in love with his omega roommate. She'll understand eventually. Your omega roommate, I repeat, testing the words. They taste different now. Taste like truth instead of wishful thinking. My omega, he corrects, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. My partner. My person. My choice. Every day for as long as you'll have me. Forever. I whisper, finally understanding that I can have this. Can have him. Can have the love I've been dreaming of for months. I choose forever. Forever. He agrees and seals the promise with a kiss that tastes like new beginnings and happy endings and everything in between. Outside, the world continues spinning. But inside our apartment, surrounded by boxes, we'll unpack together and scents that finally belong to both of us. Time feels suspended. Perfect. Complete. Finally completely mine. Finally completely his. Finally completely ours.